The moment their eyes met across the crowded coffee shop, Ellie knew she'd made a terrible mistake. She shouldn't have agreed to this date. She shouldn't have let her friends set this up. And she definitely shouldn't have let herself believe, even for a second, that someone like him, with his kind eyes and the small photo of his daughter tucked into his wallet, could ever want someone like her. If you've ever felt unworthy of love or struggled to believe in second chances, this story might just change your heart. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories that remind us all that healing is possible, even when we least expect it. James Patterson had been raising his 8-year-old daughter alone for 3 years since losing his wife to cancer. The coffee shop had become his sanctuary, the only place where he allowed himself an hour of peace between his demanding job as a construction foreman and his even more demanding role as both mother and father to little Sophie. He hadn't planned on dating again. Ever. But his sister had other ideas. "She's perfect for you," his sister had insisted. "She works at the children's library. Sophie already adores her from story time. Just one coffee, James. That's all I'm asking." Across town, Ellie Morgan stood before her bathroom mirror, examining the long scar that ran from her collarbone down her chest, a permanent reminder of the heart surgery that had saved her life but left her feeling permanently damaged. At 32, she'd accepted her fate, a quiet life alone with her books and her cat. The heart condition that had nearly killed her twice meant she tired easily. It meant she couldn't have children. It meant she was, as her ex-fiancé had so cruelly put it before walking out, damaged goods. "I can't do this," she told her reflection, but her best friend Rachel had already arranged everything. "He's a single dad," Rachel had said. "He's kind. He's not looking for perfection, Ellie. He's looking for real." The coffee shop was busier than usual when Ellie arrived. She spotted him immediately, tall, with dark hair streaked with premature gray at the temples, wearing a simple blue button-down with the sleeves rolled up. He looked solid, dependable. Everything she wasn't. Their conversation started awkwardly but warmed as they discovered shared interests, classic films, hiking trails they both loved, and a mutual addiction to the same mystery novel series. For a moment, Ellie forgot about her scars, both visible and invisible. For a moment, she let herself imagine what it might be like to be part of a family again. Then James mentioned taking his daughter camping next summer, and how he hoped to find someone who might want to join their little adventures someday. "I should go," Ellie said suddenly, gathering her purse. This was a mistake. "What? Why?" James looked genuinely confused. "Did I say something wrong?" "No, it's not you. It's," Ellie felt the familiar tightness in her chest, the warning sign that her heart was working too hard. "I'm not fit for any man, especially not one with a child who needs a mother. I can't be what you need." James's expression changed then, not to disappointment or pity as she expected, but to something that looked strangely like recognition. "Can I show you something?" he asked quietly. Before she could answer, he unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of his shirt and pulled the fabric aside to reveal a jagged scar running across his shoulder and chest. "Motorcycle accident, 10 years ago. Shattered my collarbone, punctured my lung. They said I might never have full mobility again." He rebut-toned his shirt. "My wife used to say it was my badge of survival." Ellie stared at him, speechless. "Everyone's carrying something, Ellie," he continued. "Some scars are just more visible than others. It's not just the scar," she whispered, her voice catching. "I have a congenital heart condition. I can't run around with a child. I get tired easily. I might not even live to see." "None of us know how long we have," James interrupted gently. "My wife was the healthiest person I knew until the cancer diagnosis. We had 6 months after that." Tears filled Ellie's eyes. "I can't have children," she admitted, the words that had ended her previous relationship hanging heavy between them. James's reaction shocked her. He smiled, not with pity, but with warmth that reached his eyes. I already have the most amazing daughter in the world, he said. What I'm missing is someone to share our life with. Someone who understands that family isn't always about blood. You don't understand, Ellie insisted. I'm broken. I'll always be broken. James reached across the table then, his hand covering hers. We're all broken in some way, Ellie. The trick is finding someone whose broken pieces fit with yours. The coffee shop around them faded as Ellie looked into his eyes and saw something she hadn't seen in years, acceptance. Not despite her flaws, but somehow, impossibly, including them. I'd like you to meet Sophie, James said. No pressure, just story time at the library where you already know her. She talks about Miss Ellie all the time, you know. She does? She says you do the best dragon voices. For the first time in years, Ellie laughed without restraint, without fear of straining her heart. And strangely, her chest felt lighter than it had in years. 3 months later, Ellie sat on a park bench watching James push Sophie on the swings. The little girl's laughter carried across the playground, a sound that had become as essential to Ellie as her own heartbeat. Higher, Daddy. Miss Ellie, look how high I'm going. I see you, sweetheart. Ellie called back, marveling at how this child had claimed a piece of her heart so effortlessly. That evening, after Sophie had been tucked into bed with 2 stories instead of the usual one, Ellie could never resist those, just one more, please. James and Ellie sat on his back porch, a comfortable silence between them. Sophie asked me something today, James said finally. What's that? She asked if you were going to be her new mommy. Ellie's heart stuttered, but not from her condition. What did you tell her? I told her that wasn't something I could decide alone. James turned to face her. I told her it was something special that grown-ups need to talk about very carefully. James, I know it's too soon, he said quickly. I know we're still getting to know each other. But I also know that when Sophie and I are with you, it feels right. It feels like we're healing parts of ourselves we didn't even know were still wounded. Ellie thought about the doctor's appointments James had accompanied her to, never flinching when the cardiologist discussed her limitations. She thought about how he'd researched her condition, learning which activities were safe and which might tax her heart too much. She thought about how he never made her feel less than whole. I'm scared, she admitted. Not just of my health, but of disappointing you both. Of not being enough. That's the thing about love, James said, taking her hand. It doesn't demand perfection. It just asks for presence. For showing up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Is that what this is? Ellie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Love? James's smile was answer enough, but he spoke the words anyway. I think it's getting there. If you're willing to find out with me. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn day, Ellie stood in the children's section of the library where she worked, surrounded by familiar books and the scent of pages well loved. She was setting up for story time when she heard the patter of running feet. Miss Ellie. Miss Ellie. Sophie barreled toward her, a drawing clutched in her small hand. I made this for you. The crayon illustration showed 3 stick figures holding hands, a tall one labeled Daddy, a small one with yellow pigtails labeled Me, and a medium-sized one with red curls like Ellie's labeled Our Ellie. Our Ellie, she read aloud, her voice catching. Do you like it? Sophie asked, bouncing on her toes. I love it more than all the books in this library, Ellie answered truthfully. James appeared behind his daughter, a small velvet box in his hand that made Ellie's breath catch. We had a family meeting, he said with a smile. And we decided it's time to make it official. If you'll have us. As Sophie wrapped her arms around Ellie's waist and James knelt before her, Ellie realized that her heart, her imperfect, scarred, medically compromised heart, had never felt stronger or more whole than in this moment. I'm still not fit for just any man, she said through happy tears. But it seems I might be perfectly fit for you too. The ring James slipped onto her finger was simple and elegant, but what moved Ellie most was the small charm bracelet Sophie presented next, with 3 heart-shaped charms already attached. "One for each of us," Sophie explained. "Daddy says we're a heart family now." A heart family. Yes, Ellie thought. That was exactly right. Their wedding 6 months later was small and intimate, held in the garden of the library where Ellie worked. Sophie served as both flower girl and ring bearer, proudly walking down the aisle in a dress she'd helped design, carrying a basket of book page roses Ellie had crafted from damaged library books that would otherwise have been discarded. "Broken things made beautiful," James had said when she showed him the project. "That's us." In her vows, Ellie promised not just to love James, but to be a guardian of Sophie's stories, a keeper of her secrets, and a steady presence in her life for as long as her heart continued to beat. And in that moment, surrounded by the people who had taught her that being broken didn't mean being unworthy, Ellie finally understood that her heart condition hadn't limited her life, it had taught her to cherish every moment of it. 2 years later, Ellie sat in a different doctor's office, holding James's hand so tightly her knuckles were white. "The adoption agency has approved your application," the social worker said with a smile. "Given your medical history, we've matched you with Lily, who has special needs of her own. She's 4 years old and has been waiting for a forever family who understands what it means to face medical challenges." The photograph she handed them showed a small girl with almond-shaped eyes and a bright smile, sitting in a wheelchair with a book open on her lap. "She loves stories," the social worker added. "When we told her about you both, a librarian and a daddy who builds things, she asked if you could build her a special bookshelf that she could reach from her chair." James looked at Ellie, tears in his eyes. "I think we found the missing piece of our heart family." When they brought Lily home a month later, Sophie was waiting with a handmade sign that read, "Welcome home, sister," and a stack of her favorite picture books to share. That night, as James tucked both girls into bed, Sophie in her loft bed he'd built himself, and Lily in her new accessible bed with built-in bookshelves, Ellie watched from the doorway, her hand resting over her scarred heart. "I'm not fit for any man," she had once believed. How wrong she had been. She wasn't fit for just any life, she was imperfectly fit for this one. This beautiful, broken, healing life they were building together, one story at a time. As James joined her in the hallway and wrapped his arms around her, Ellie rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart beating in time with hers. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For showing me that sometimes the things we think make us unlovable are actually the things that help us recognize true love when we find it." James kissed the top of her head. "Our scars led us to each other. I wouldn't change a single one." And in that moment, Ellie knew with absolute certainty that her heart, her beautiful, imperfect heart, had always been strong enough for this. For them. For love. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories about finding love and family in unexpected places. Remember that your scars, whether visible or invisible, don't define your worth. They simply mark the places where you've been strong enough to heal and keep going. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that message today.